All right, guys, welcome into the Gashouse Gang on a Thursday. Bernie Miklasz right over here. Kevin Wheeler with you. We've got a lot to do today, man. In fact, Bernie, we don't really plan it this way, but today I think it's going to be all baseball. There's just a lot to kick around. There's been a bunch in the news. We've had some breaking news here right at the beginning of the show that ties into Cardinals-related topics and things that we've discussed. So we got a million places we can go. So far today, sounds like we're finally starting to get some movement in the market and have some fun stuff to talk about.
No, let's go for it, because this is and always will be a baseball town. And some people get confused. They think because the fans may be disappointed and not buying as many tickets, that means the interest level in the Cardinals is down. I can testify as someone with my own YouTube channel. If I do a Cardinals video, people can't get enough of it. The interest is there, even if people are fed up with the team. They still want to know everything that's going on with the Cardinals. So, yeah, you never can go wrong in our town talking Cardinals baseball. No way.
And thankfully for us, there's actually some news that ties into Cardinals-related topics. Let's start with the biggest of the news, because he's the biggest player on the market. So, like last night, Jeff Passan is reporting that basically Juan Soto is going to make up his mind before the winter meetings, maybe this weekend, which is good. And by the way, I don't understand why that would drag out, right? You clearly have the bidders. They're clearly going big. It's not like anybody's slow playing it. And if the player wants it to go faster, which Soto seems to, seems like it's gonna go fast. So that's a good thing, I think, for the rest of the market. And I actually think that the faster that gets done, the more likely it is the Cardinals will be able to ferret out maybe who has interest in Nolan Arenado, who has the money left over to take on a contract on a starting pitcher or something like that.
No doubt about it. And I think this applies to the Dodgers. I mean, I know Nolan Arenado wants to be a Dodger. It's right. He's making that clear with his Instagram account. But if you're the Dodgers, first of all, you're not going to make any decision on Arenado and a trade with the Cardinals unless or until you know what Juan Soto is going to do, because they're hot and heavy into those negotiations with him.
Yep.
If they sign Soto, Mookie Betts goes back to second base. They'll keep Max Muncy at third base.
Right.
And some Cardinals fans that I talk to are under the impression that like Arenado's a better hitter than Muncy. No, he's not.
No.
Especially you're talking about a guy who just kills right-handed pitching. And they like Muncy's also just one of the most valuable Dodgers. The front office loves him. So Muncy would play third base. Shortstop, you have Gavin Lux, you have Tommy Edman. So in other words, where's you have Freddie Freeman at first. So where the heck is there room for Arenado? And especially you'd have to give up something. So that's just one example of a trickle-down effect based on what Soto decides, who he chooses to go to.
Right. And then certainly there are a lot of teams, Bernie. I mean, like only one team's going to get him, which means 4 or 5 teams are going to miss out on their top priority, which means they're going to pivot. They're going to pivot to guys like Alex Bregman. They're going to pivot to guys like Teoscar Hernandez. They're going to pivot to the trade market. And that's where Arenado comes in too, right? So yeah, he wants to be a Dodger, but there's still a scenario where the Dodgers don't necessarily have incentive to do that for all the reasons you mentioned. I mean, they still have to move Gavin Lux to make all of that make sense too. And not that Gavin Lux is some major obstacle. The point is they have a lot of positions spoken for, and we don't know if they want to bring back Teoscar Hernandez or if they want to bring in another right-handed bat to kind of hit right behind that big 3 or 4 that they have at the top. So there's a lot at play there, but there are other contenders that could very conceivably need third baseman. And I think we know that the Dodgers would be the number one choice, but I got to believe they're not the only choice, right? I mean, if Arenado wants to play for a contender, it sure looks like a bunch of others could use a third baseman if they miss out on the big contract.
Yeah, the teams that are usually in the news for this are the Phillies and the Red Sox, and the Tigers have been in there, the Yankees, where there is a fit actually.
Yeah.
And, maybe someone a little bit off the grid like the Royals, although I don't think that'll happen, but some people are speculating that it will. So it'll be interesting. But can I just throw something at you, my friend? Because this is very much relevant. Like Jim Bowden of The Athletic had us, trades I'd love to see at the winter meetings. And he had the Cardinals sending, first of all, he's really good at what he does, which is to stir the pot.
Yeah.
He had the Cardinals sending, Helsley and Arenado to the Phillies. More on Helsley here in a couple minutes. And they say, oh, the Cardinals would get Alec Bohm. And boy, this would work out for both sides. Wait a minute. Hold on. Time out. Why in the world would the Cardinals want Alec Bohm? Given the fact that he isn't a kid, he's 28.
Yeah.
Given the fact that he can be he'll make about $8 million this coming season in arbitration. Then he'll be a free agent after 2026. Oh, by the way, he got benched in the NLDS because of an attitude problem, because he was moody and temperamental. He didn't like the way he was being used in the lineup and all kinds of other things. He had a great April. Yeah, he started the All-Star game, but so did a lot of other bums through history. That doesn't mean anything. And if you look at his stats after April, there is just nothing special about it. And oh, by the way, in this soft rebuild or reset or whatever you want to call it, one reason you trade Arenado is because you have some people you really want to look at third base.
Right.
People in your organization who represent your future.
Right.
So why in the world? And yet I see Cardinals fans like getting excited about it. Oh, yeah. Oh, Alec Bohm. Yeah. Right on. No,
it doesn't make sense. And look, Bohm's fine. He's fine, but I'll say this.
Yeah, that's right.
He plays in one of the best hitters parks in baseball, and he ain't hitting 20, 25 home runs a year. If you're only hitting 17, 18 home runs a year in Philly, you're hitting 12 in St. Louis. I mean, like, but I think what you hit first was the most important thing. In another year where, like the Cardinals were trying to maximize, the current year and we want to get some proven guys, that would actually make a lot of sense. But that's not what they've advertised that they're doing. And I love Jim Bowden, by the way. I think he's a good dude. I've done shows with him. I was down in Washington Nationals spring training with him after the Nationals won the World Series. By the way, days before the COVID lockdown happened, we were down there and we were doing the Washington Nationals preview. He's a good guy. He knows baseball. But you're right. A lot of what he does on The Athletic is like, let's spur conversation. Let's have some fun. And a lot of people take it as quote unquote reporting, but it's not meant to be that. It's meant to be fun. It's meant to be fun baseball talk. So just so people are clear. And by the way, this is a good point from one of our viewers, Garland. Like, if it was a three-way trade, that makes some sense. And maybe that's how it plays, right? Where Bohm goes somewhere else where he can play some third, play some first and DH. And the Cardinals are going to get younger players in it, some combination. That makes a lot of sense. That's a great comment.
No, Garland, thank you. Because that is, then you have to consider it. Then it is a more meaningful trade. And I don't know. I mean, I don't know where Arenado is going to go. And then, you see, and the thing of it is, Kevin, I have a lot of bad habits. I'll tell you one of them. I get really frustrated with other media. And here's the deal. I do things that annoy people. So I'm like, who am I to talk, right? People get frustrated with me. But like at ESPN the other day, there's a couple guys who I really truly respect, and they're both saying, well, where's the best fit for Arenado? One of them says Toronto, and the other one, I'm trying to remember where the other one was. It was a place where Arenado would never want to go to. So what is the point of talking about him as this market or that team's the best fits for him, when he's got a no trade clause, and both of those markets would be like down near the bottom of his so-called wish list. So why even put that out there?
Yeah, that's the thing.
I don't understand that stuff.
There's a scenario you could argue if you really want to go like, okay, the Blue Jays will add aggressively. They could be decent, but like they're all right now today. What are they? The fourth or fifth best team in the division? They're not better than Baltimore. They're not better than the Yankees. They're not better than the Rays. And Boston's in the Soto sweepstakes, and it sounds like they're in on Fried and Burns and everybody else. So while I think Toronto has potential and they have money, but right now they're no better than the fourth best team in their own division.
That's exactly right. So, and I don't think it's Arenado's dream to want to go play in Canada. I just I don't see it. So.
Not exactly California dreaming, is it?
No. So and the thing of it is like, people who should know better put that stuff out there, and then it gets, no matter what baseball market you're in. We happen to work in St. Louis, so that's why I mentioned Cardinals fans. And then fans get in a tizzy. They get in a tizzy. Oh, well, Cardinals could, oh boy, Toronto wants him. He could go to Toronto. They're trying to win.
Yeah.
Why would he want to go to Toronto? I mean, I actually think he'd prefer to stay in St. Louis.
I agree.
At least he's got a home here and he likes playing here. He's
I agree.
not thrilled with the Cardinals, but anyway, it's just that little stuff drives me nuts. I shouldn't let it bother me. Shame on Bernie, but anyway, I can't help it. I get annoyed.
It's the Gashouse Gang here on all of the KMOX social media channels, and also obviously on air as well at nighttime when we don't have another sporting commitment at 8 o'clock in the evening. You can find us, obviously, if you're watching on Twitter, you know that. If you're watching on YouTube, you know that. The podcast will be later on at KMOX.com. You can find The Bernie Show on YouTube, youtube.com/The Bernie Show, and obviously get obviously it's a lot of the same kinds of topics, but a lot more depth and detail because we're doing things in 5-8 minute windows, and Bernie can expand and do whatever he wants on the channel. So obviously a good chance to do that. And I should point out, Bern, I'm going to try to find the logo. Oh, there it is. The van's right there. Tell us a little bit about Sela Heating and Cooling, our first sponsor here on the Gashouse Gang.
I'm always happy to do that, my friend. Sela Heating and Cooling has been around since 1927, still going strong, man. 4 generations of Seligas have owned this continuously, and they've been serving generations of St. Louis families since 1927. They're an independent American standard heating and air conditioning dealer. We've been clients. We've been a Seliga family for a long time. We swear by them because they're really, really outstanding at what they do. The integrity, the credibility, the professionalism. When they say they're going to be at your home at a certain time, when you've made an appointment, they're prompt about that. They don't leave you hanging. You also will find if you have Seliga help you, they're not trying to upsell you. They're not trying to hustle you. In our experience, they've actually saved us money where we thought we needed a new boiler. And they said, no, this one's good to go for another 2 or 3 years. We'll check it again next year, but you don't need to do that right now. And I thought, listen, man, I know we think the world of Sela Heating and Cooling, but that was just another example. So you can become a member of their Priority Club, which is a maintenance program, but you get some other perks. The Priority Club is good, though, as far as maintenance, because before the winter sets in, the heat, you know that the heat will be working. They'll come out and check it. Same way in the air conditioning in the summer. They also have financing. Financing is available. Sorry. You have to be qualified for that, but you can check for more info just going by to SeligaHeatingandCooling.com. The phone number's there, SeligaHeatingandCooling.com. Thanks, Kevin.
All right. So, Bernie, earlier today, you threw something really interesting at me via text, and we can play a little what-if game, a little alternate universe, because we've talked a lot about the guys the Cardinals could be looking to move, Arenado and Fetty and Helsley and guys like that. But you threw out an interesting kind of premise, an interesting scenario about what if they don't move those guys? What does that look like? Let's dive into that a little bit. Lay out.
It's kind of fun. It's kind of fun to talk about. Well, what if they decide, we like it. What if they just decide, listen, we're just not going to give Arenado away. So if we have to keep him, maybe to the trade deadline, we'll do it. You have a Ryan Helsley, and there's some information on that this morning. Ryan Helsley can become a free agent after the season. Common sense says, well, this is a great time to flip him. His value is extremely high. Like all relievers who throw 100 miles an hour, there's an injury risk involved. So trade him while his value is high. But what if the Cardinals, and I know we'll get to this in a minute, what if the Cardinals say, no, we just really like him. We want to keep him. We want him around in 2025. He's not blocking anybody else. It's not that we have to look at a young closer.
Right.
And then you have Eric Fetty, who I think might be the most valuable trade piece they have, because it's a 1 year. Yeah. I mean, teams are throwing money around like crazy on pitchers that aren't as good as him. And depending on whether you go to Fangraphs or you go to Baseball Reference, they have a different system of wins above replacement. Fetty was anywhere from the 17th best starting pitcher in baseball, or in the top 10 of starting pitchers in baseball. Oh, and by the way, he makes $7.5 million next season. This guy, to me, given the insanity with pitching contracts, free agent deals that are being signed, this guy, I would think, would be a very popular guy on the trade market. And I got some pushback on that on my YouTube channel, which is fine. I like it. But Cardinals fans are like, well, no, they should keep him. You always need pitching. You can never have enough. I'm surprised, Bernie, you would say this. And then they can work out a deal with him after the season. No. No, they won't. Scott Boras is the agent. The Scott Boras, he doesn't do hometown discount deals. He takes his clients to markets and to the market. And by the way, that's why they hire him. So, but this idea, well, then we can sign Fetty to like a 3-year deal for $35 million. Oh my gosh. Can I sniff some glue or something to get at the level of people making that suggestion? Anyway, not really.
Yeah.
But suppose they make a huge mistake of just keeping Fetty and then seeing him walk after a year and getting nothing except a draft pick that's not that meaningful. I mean, John Mozeliak's still calling the shots. I wouldn't rule anything out here. But what's the point, Kevin? And I know I'm rambling on, and I want you to take all the time you want to address this. What exactly is the point again? If you're like, well, we're not trading Helsley, even though he's marketable, he's valuable piece, and he's going to walk after the end of the year. It's like, well, why would you hold on to Fetty? Same thing I just explained. Arenado's a little different. But if you keep Arenado, okay, well then what happened to this thing where you're going to take a look at young third baseman? So what would be the point of their announced plan going into 2025 if you hold all these guys? And there's at least a chance they'll hold one or two. Right. I don't get it, but what do you think? Your take, man.
It would have to come with corresponding moves, right? It would have to come with other players moving out. It would. It wouldn't make sense otherwise. Or, and we're going to get to the Helsley thing in a second because there's a report today from Ken Rosenthal in The Athletic where he says the opposing clubs are kind of under the impression that the Cardinals are going to hold on to Helsley. And there's a quote from Mo in there that says, and this is direct quote from Mo in The Athletic. It says, it's something we'll always remain open-minded to, but our plan is to have him be a part of the organization. That can be what a president of baseball operations has to say, right? I mean, he's not going to be like, hey, everybody, we have to trade Ryan Helsley.
Right, exactly.
That can be a little bit of playing poker there. It doesn't automatically mean that's the plan. But we've also talked about it on here that having that ninth inning locked down, at least until you get to the trade deadline, can also keep a younger team. I think you've raised this point, Bernie, keep a younger team from faltering and flailing and losing games late, which can then drag you down even further. Right. So, there's something there. But I think if you're keeping those guys overall, something else has to change. And there's only two things that could change that keep this equation moving in the direction that they're talking about. One would be moving other people, right? So if you're going to keep Fetty, then you got to move Matz and or Miklasz. You have to. Because if you don't, you have no rotation spot. You have nothing for Michael McGreevy to do. And putting him in the pen, to me, is counterproductive now.
Yes.
Right now, this is the time to see if he can start. You put him in the pen later if it doesn't work out. And that's the same for the other younger guys, too. So let's just say you only need to open one rotation spot. Wonderful. That means one of those three that we listed, Fetty, Miklasz, or Matz, has to go. So if it's not Fetty, it's got to be one of the other guys one way or the other.
But you can get a lot more for Fetty than those other guys.
Agreed. Yeah, 100%.
Right.
Absolutely. And it makes all the sense in the world that he would be the one you move. And because, look, we don't know that Miles would accept a trade. He's got a no-trade clause. And Steven Matz is just never healthy. So, and even when he's healthy, he's kind of up and down. I mean, he's had like a 2-month stretch as a Cardinal where he was really good. And the rest of the time, it's either been inconsistency or injury. And that's not exactly high value in terms of getting anything for him. You could probably move the contract or at least a big chunk of it. But we're talking about trying to get things too. And Fetty brings you things. He'll get you a good prospect, at least. Maybe a good one and then a lottery ticket with it. If you're keeping Arenado, that's way more complicated. And to me, there's only two ways out of that. You move someone else. And the only candidates that make sense there would be guys like Nootbaar and Donovan, but I don't think you should move Donovan. He's too valuable.
No.
And he's too versatile, and he helps you in too many ways. And Newt, you'd be selling low because he's hurt all the time. It would be maybe not as low as you sold on Tyler O'Neill, but a similar idea, right? That he hasn't proven he can be an everyday player, so you're not getting premium for him. The other scenario would be to suck it up and put Lars in center field every day and play Donovan in left field every day and then have Gorman and Sajaci move in and out at second base and DH and Sajaci plays short when Wynn gets a day off, things along those lines. So it's an extra layer of complication because Arenado, if he's there, is playing 150 games. You know that.
Right.
That
no
takes
doubt.
away a lot of opportunity. Moving Nootbaar to center on a regular basis diminishes your defense, but it does give you some more offense if you're doing that. But I don't get any sense that they're planning on doing anything like that. And that blocks Victor Scott from having an opportunity to play.
No, I mean, if anything, a case can be made the Cardinals need to add a right-handed outfield bat who can play center field.
Yes.
I looked at this the other day. I put it in something that I wrote at Scoops, which is the Cardinals last year in center field, they had 30 plate appearances from a right-handed hitter. And in just general, their whole outfield situation, the Cardinals had the most plate appearances of any major league outfield by left-handed hitters, and the fewest in the majors by right-handed hitters in the outfield. I mean, come on, you got to balance that out somehow. So, no, I hear what you're saying about Nootbaar, but then again, you'd have another left-handed center fielder in the mix.
Yes,
left-handed hitter. So it's like
yes,
the redundancy. They can't get away from the redundancy, and it gives me a headache. I don't know about you, and these things are really fun to talk about, but I don't know. I really can see Helsley. I don't think that that's a crazy thing. And he does have deep roots with the organization. I think he loves St. Louis. This is all he's known. He talked about it with John Denver, and I get it. But pardon me for being cynical or jaded or whatever. But if he really wants to be in St. Louis, one thing that could at least enhance that possibility is if his agent goes to the Cardinals and says, look, Ryan really wants to stay here. We'll work out let's work out a contract that's good for the club as well for him.
Yeah.
But unless, and this is where I'm cynical, until I see it reported that Helsley or his agent or both have approached the Cardinals and said, oh, we'll give you a pretty steep discount to stay here. And he doesn't have to do that, by the way. He should get all the money he wants to get. And I would say, good job. It's his career. He can do what he wants. But if he really wants to stay, he could probably do at least one thing that would make that more of a realistic possibility. But if you keep him, but I could see keeping him because of what we talked about, and then flipping him at the deadline. This is where I'm a nervous Nelson, because it's like, okay, what if he blows out an elbow?
Yeah.
What if he gets the dreaded forearm strain that's often a precursor to serious elbow problems? Then what?
Then you're hosed.
Right. But I agree with what you said too, real quick. I would expect John Mozeliak to take the public position. It's like, well, we don't feel like we really need to trade him. We're thinking about we're thinking about him as being on our team, and blah blah blah. Well, that's what he's got to say. He'd be irresponsible if he didn't. He's letting everyone know we're not giving him away. So keep your low ball offers to yourselves. We're not interested. Give us something to think about. Sorry.
Yeah, no, amen. Bernie Miklasz and Kevin Wheeler with you on the Gashouse Gang. Let's expand on that a little bit because I think I want to differentiate between two different types of things that kind of ties all of this together. So one are the guys like Eric Fetty and Ryan Helsley who have clear, significant trade value. They are valuable to damn near every contender. No, not damn near. They're valuable to every contender. And in Fetty's case, he can be valuable to even kind of mid-level teams that may or may not be contenders, right? Those two guys have clear value and will clearly get you a good return. So we got those guys. And then we have the other guys who may or may not bring you much, right? Where the benefit really is the clearing of the deck for the young players to play and clearing as much payroll as you can possibly clear. I think if you end up holding on to Fetty and Helsley or Helsley because you're not getting the offers you think you should get for them, that makes total sense. Makes total sense. I don't think the return is the point with the other guys. I don't think the return is the point with Nolan Arenado.
Right.
I don't think it's the point with Matz or Miklasz. And just kind of building on the Arenado thing, yeah, you want to get something, but what the bigger motivations are creating opportunities for your other guys and saving as much of the money as you can, because it's not like you have to recoup what you gave up for him, because you didn't give up anything that you're currently missing. Austin Gomber is a major league pitcher, but he's a back end of the rotation major league pitcher. You have those. You're not hurting from that deal. So I hope that this isn't about the principle, like we need to get quality, because really the point is opportunity and cash.
No, I agree. And not to repeat what you just said. Yeah. The reason why you trade Helsley and Fetty is because it's a forward thinking move and it fits into your template of like, we're not rebuilding, but we're going younger and we have to give opportunities to young players and we want to get more young players. That's why we're redoing the draft and the development and everything else. That's why we're getting up to speed, because our whole thing from this point forward is going to be, that's why we hired Chaim Bloom, is going to be about good young players constantly on the way to St. Louis, pitchers, hitters, whatever. That pipeline wide open again, the way it used to be at a high level. So and that fits exactly what they're trying to do, is in a reset as an organization. So yeah, to me, it would be a waste not to take advantage of that opportunity, but I'm with you. And I would be presumably with the Cardinals, which is no, you're not getting those guys cheap. Not when you have the Sacramento A's or wherever they're playing. The A's are given 3 years and $67 million to Luis Severino.
Yeah.
The A's.
Yeah.
I mean, all these teams are breaking out in rashes. Just they can't wait to throw money at mediocre pitchers. Can
I go conspiracy theory for 10 seconds?
Yeah.
Don't tell me that this isn't the A's getting pressure from other teams to do something and spend money because the league's doing them the favor of letting them move.
Could be.
It has to be.
It could be.
I mean, either that or you're just like, well, we got to find a way to get people to the minor league park. Well, first of all, Severino's not doing that. He's fine. He had a good year last year. He's a fine pitcher, but I feel like they're just doing this for show, my opinion. Anyway,
I agree.
Tinfoil hat off.
They have no credibility, and you do. So I side with you on that one.
Yay.
So I don't know. So we'll see what happens. It's an interesting off season, but this idea that, they're going to go basically into spring training and they're going to have, there's a possibility they're still going to have a lot of people in place where those people could have gotten you young talent in return that fit into your program. It's just, then I'll have to take the opinion of if this was your marketing plan to the fans and then you didn't follow through with it, well, what the heck was that all about?
Yeah, that's why I think they are going to move some of these guys.
I do too. Too.
I think, there's always the possibility you don't, but I think it makes it way more sense to move Arenado. Given he's not going to gain value the older he gets. Now, we could say, if he has a big off season of work and he has, 3 good months to start the year, well, then maybe a contender goes,
right.
He looks like Nolan Arenado again. But that's also the risk that you're talking about on the opposite side of like a Ryan Helsley getting hurt. What if it gets worse? What if it doesn't get better?
Let me throw one other. This is very much related. We know that John Mozeliak obviously is still the president of baseball operations, and Chaim Bloom's mostly, overseeing this massive project of the player development in minor league infrastructure.
Yeah, he's under the tarp doing construction.
Yeah, and they're making great hires, by the way. But the interesting thing, Chaim Bloom may not technically be making trades this offseason, but in the case of a Helsley, and in case of Fetty, and in case of Arenado, at the end of the day, shouldn't this be up to Chaim Bloom whether to trade? Like, if there are offers coming in, no disrespect to Mo because he has the title, and everybody wants to drive him to the river and dump him in, like today, and that's just the way it is. But Chaim Bloom has got to make these calls. If they're being, first of all, he knows a heck of a lot more about prospects than anyone in the Cardinals organization. This is his thing. He's really good at it. And he can identify prospects and judge whether it's a worthy return for any of these guys. And it's different standards, of course. He's got to make the call, right? He has to. Because again, this directly impacts the Cardinals as they stand when he officially becomes a baseball president of president of baseball operations.
Right.
He's got to make the call whether they want to just say, no, Mo made the trade. They can say that all you want. I can't imagine a scenario where Chaim Bloom is not the person that makes the ultimate decision about whether to trade Helsley based on offers or trade Fetty based on offers, and to a lesser extent, Arenado.
All right, this is the Gashouse Gang on KMOX. Kevin Wheeler, Bernie Miklasz, our early sponsor, and obviously we'll be adding more as we go, but our first, and right to the first group to step to the plate were your buddies at Sela Heating and Cooling.
Listen, Dan Seliga I feel like he's part of our family because we've dealt with him so many years for whatever our needs may be in heating and cooling. We love the fact that we can call Seliga Heating and Cooling, that independent American standard heating and air conditioning dealer. We love the fact that nobody wants problems with their heating and cooling. Nobody wants repairs. No one wants trouble. But we're grateful that we can call Seliga because we trust them and we know they'll fix it and they'll take care of it. And they're not going to try to hustle us, upsell us, talk us into something that we're not sure about. But they say, well, trust me, you need it. They don't do that to their clients. See, the reason they've been around since 1927 is because they've earned that credibility and the trust. They don't play games with their clients because they want you to call them and rely on them the way we have in our home for the last 15 years, right? So that's their business principle. No, we want people to trust us. We want people to feel good that if they have a problem, they know they can count on us and there's going to be no BS. And there's a lot of reasons why we love Seliga Heating and Cooling, but really the integrity is near the top of the list, if not the top of the list. They do residential work, commercial work, all makes and models. The best thing for you to do and ask them about that Priority Club maintenance program. It's really, really good and it's worth it. You'll get peace of mind and you'll save some money. But you can go to SeligaHeatingandCooling.com, SeligaHeatingandCooling.com, and you can see the phone number there. And don't forget, financing is available, but for qualified buyers. So that's SeligaHeatingandCooling.com. Thank you, Kevin.
All right, so we got about 6-7 minutes left. Let's get to this thing that was buzzing yesterday. Benji Molina, who I love, by the way. Benji is a great, great dude, does a lot of great stuff in the community. So I don't really want this to be about, picking on Benji or punching Benji or anything like that. But, he went on an interview and talked about Yadi having interest in being the Cardinals manager. And it got a lot of buzz. People love Yadi. I don't know about you, but Vern, I don't know that there's been a more popular Cardinal, more beloved Cardinal than Yadier Molina in the last 15, 20 years. No knock on Albert, but Albert left and Yadi stayed.
Right.
Right. And so Yadi's a lifetime Cardinal. And we all love those kinds of stories, but something about that hit me wrong. I mean, the Cardinals have a manager, and it's one thing if sports talk blowhards like me were to ever talk about those things. That's a different thing than someone's brother. I think that's, again, if you're watching Benj, I love you, dude. You're one of the nicest people I know, but that's wonderful not fair. Guy. It's not fair to Ollie Marmol. It's not, because what we're doing here is talking about a franchise legend who is a Hall of Fame player who is incredibly popular, and just invoking that is going to do nothing but create heat for the current manager, who the team has committed to for the time being. It'd be different if there had been a firing and you're lobbying for an open position. But I would say that people in these kinds of positions, regardless of who they are, probably shouldn't do that.
It's unfair to Marmol. And I know a lot of fans will say, well, who cares? Okay, whatever. Duly noted. But it is unfair where the guy's, trying to manage for his job. Now, all of a sudden, he's got the specter of a Cardinals icon hovering over this. And you know who else it's unfair to is Chaim Bloom. Because
great point. Yeah.
Chaim Bloom's taking this baby over, and he's going to have a major say in a lot of major decisions this season, during the season. So you recruited Chaim Bloom. You've given him this enormous task of rebuilding your farm system and minor league system and everything that comes with it, and putting together a whole new operation, right? So at the end of 25, it comes time to make a decision. Do you stick with Oli Marmol for a final season of his contract? Okay.
Right.
Or do you decide a change is best for everyone? Now, what if the Cardinals exceed expectations? And again, I know that there are people watching this. I don't know how many that would agree with this, but I hear from them all the time. It would be like, who cares? They just don't like Marmol, right? And what whether he wins or not is irrelevant to them. So Chaim Bloom's going to have to decide, first of all, do I keep the manager that I have? And if he does a good job and the Cardinals exceed expectation, keeping him would be justified. If we're even trying to be objective, if they exceed expectations and play surprisingly well, better than people think, what would be the point of like firing him at that point? I think differently than people that get emotional and they decided whenever they hate Marmol because he's Mosaic puppet or whatever the theory is, right? The other thing is, okay, suppose he decides to make a managerial change. I would think Chaim Bloom's got a list already just because that's what they do. They think ahead. They think ahead of people that he think would be outstanding managers and people that he would be compatible with and would share his philosophy. So now all of a sudden you sort of put Chaim Bloom in a corner because when you have the public, at least a lot of the public, hollering for Yadier Molina. And even though if you don't think he's the guy you want because you wonder if it's a fit in philosophy, whether you're going to be compatible, but you back him into a corner to where if he doesn't hire Yadier Molina, all of a sudden Chaim Bloom goes on the haters list, right? And all of a sudden the first big move he makes, everyone's condemning. Well, I shouldn't say everyone. A lot of people, especially the ones that are on social media that trying to get attention all the time, they'll be condemning Chaim Bloom. So that's how he's going to start off his career as the president of baseball operations. You don't give him the choice. He doesn't have the choice to select the manager that he wants. Really? And then the other part of this, Kevin, just to throw this out real quick, the Cardinals would, in that scenario, they would catch heat in 3 different ways. If they keep Marmol, even if it's deserved, they're going to catch heat. Can you believe they're keeping this guy? I'm not buying a ticket, that kind of thing. Number 2, they do bounce Marmol and they hire Molina, even though the guy running the team has some real reservations about it, but he's doing it because he doesn't want to, immediately go to the top of the enemies list among Cardinals fans that want certain things. And the third thing, if they do hire Molina, let's just play this game. They do hire Molina. This, I know this. There would be a reaction by some fans, a pretty good percentage of fans, who would say, well, I like Yachty, don't get me wrong, but DeWitt's doing this just to make money. This is about marketing. This is about PR. They're making this move because DeWitt wants that ticket money.
Yeah.
So wherever they turn, they're going to catch it. They're going to catch heat. They're going to catch grief. There at least percentages of people in all these different categories will be angry at them. So good job, Benji. The other thing about Benji, love him too, but he said that Molina has offers now from major league teams. He said offers plural. Well, there's no jobs. So I don't know what he's referring to. The other thing he added, and we should point this out, is that Yadier would prefer to do this maybe in a couple of years because I think wants to see his son graduate. I'm assuming it's high school. So this is kind of a mess. And what about the fans who I hear from a lot talk about, well, can you trust Yachty? What happened to this consulting job he had? He never reported. He never did anything last season. What about him leaving the Cardinals to go watch his pro basketball team when he was still a player? People will bring that up. I'm not saying that to cheap shot Yachty.
No.
People will bring that up. So this is not a cut and dry situation. To me, it's complicated primarily because what's the point of bringing in a whole new guy to run your entire operation if you're not going to let him choose the manager that he wants?
No, that's a great point. And by the way, anybody that wants a lot more depth on that, go to youtube.com/The Bernie Show. At The Bernie Show, you went on, I think, was it 20, 25 minutes on the topic today?
Yeah,
So a lot more
maybe
detail.
20, maybe 23. That's that's light for me, actually.
But a lot more than we can do in 6 or 7 minutes, which is the point. So if you want
to I touched on the high points, but
that,
like you said, you can get more on there. So I had some fun with it too.
I would also caution, I would also caution people this. Go look at the list of major league managers and then the most successful major league managers and tell me how many of them were Hall of Fame players. Not many.
Yeah,
because a lot of people that had the success that Molina had, making, 150, 200, $250 million and all of that, they don't necessarily end up being managers. You can draw your own conclusions as to why, but like the current manager who had the best career is probably Aaron Boone. Aaron Boone was a pretty solid player for a pretty good amount of time, but Aaron Boone's not a Hall of Famer. You just don't see too many of those things. So I think that's a thing to think about is like, why is that?
And I didn't get into this in my video, so I'm glad you brought it up, and let me know when I need to shut up. But on the other hand, Yadier Molina was heralded for a long time, 2 decades, for his leadership ability, his baseball intelligence, the way he sees things that no one sees, this innate sense of, what pitch to call, what to do. He thinks as a manager. Every manager that I know, the Cardinals, went to him to see, well, what do you think about this? Yep. And they would ask him about that stuff during games. So if Stephen Vogt, a major league catcher, not of Molina's class as far as prominent careers, Stephen Vogt gets the Cleveland job this year, and the only experience he had other than a major league catching career where he bounced around, he was a bullpen coach 1 year in Seattle.
Yep.
He gets the gig in Cleveland, and he wins American League Manager of the Year. So if that catcher can get a manager's job right away, wouldn't one of the 2 or 3 greatest catchers in the history of the game, wouldn't he rate that opportunity? That's why this is like so complicated.
Yeah.
Everyone wants to act like it's an easy answer. It's not. And what if Albert Pujols says, well, wait a minute.
I want to do it.
I want to manage. And by the way, I didn't get into that in my video. What if he says, well, wait a minute. I kind of let everyone know I really want to be a manager, and there's no place I'd rather be than say, what if it becomes to like they're trying to decide between Pujols and Molina?
Yeah.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah, we're already over, so I'll do this in 10 seconds. I don't have any doubts about whether Molina could do it.
Right.
To me, the question for those guys that make a lot of money is, do they want to? Do you want to put in 80 to 100 hours a week when you've got $250 million that you've earned in your lifetime and you're comfortable and you can do whatever you want? That's what I think it is normally, is why these big stars don't become managers, because they don't need to, and they don't need the hassle, the work. And by the way, the manager has to deal with all of us every day.
Yeah.
You got to do all the media stuff. You got to do pregame, postgame. You got to do interviews off to the side. You got to do public appearances. That's why a lot of those star guys don't want that job.
You're right.
So just wanted to throw that in there. I think Yadi has all of the abilities, but I don't know that anybody in that position has the desire for the work that goes into that.
I agree. I do.
All right. That's good. I like that.
A lot of stuff.
We may bring that back next week as a separate conversation. All right. So for Bernie Miklasz, I'm Kevin Wheeler. This has been the Gashouse Gang. Check out Bernie, youtube.com @The Bernie Show, and you can find out more things about what's going on there. And obviously you can find us on all of the KMOX social media outlets on Twitter, Facebook, YouTube, you name it. You guys have a great day. Thanks for tuning in. We'll catch you next time. In fact, tomorrow will be Bernie and Matt Pauley.
Looking forward to it.